Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of my Project Zomboid Masterclass. Now, I know that by the end of last episode I promised we're gonna talk about masonry today, but we are not going to do that. We are going to talk about pottery. Not only is pottery essential for masonry, as these two skills are completely interconnected, but also who wouldn't want to recreate the iconic pottery scene from the movie Ghost with either Boris the Badger or Biggs Pifo? I know I would. So let's get to it and let's dive into pottery. Now, the Project Zomboid wiki says that pottery skill allows the player to craft and build using clay. Many recipes require either a pottery wheel or a pottery bench, and in fact, the wiki says that pottery skill is a secondary skill to masonry and glassmaking. We're gonna dive into all of that today. Crafting items with clay is a two-step process. You basically first create kind of a raw item made out of clay, and then you need to use a kiln to burn them and to harden the clay. So essentially, in order to use this skill, you need to first construct all the pottery structures which are needed for it. And these structures are the already mentioned kiln, where you burn all the clay items, a pottery wheel, a hand-operated press, and also a pottery bench. Each one of them has a unique usage, which I'm gonna discuss now. And just a quick note, you need to have carpentry up to level 5 to be able to build every single structure. So the pottery wheel is obviously used to make all kinds of round-shaped clay items, such as mugs, teacups, bowls, you name it. And the pottery bench is used for everything else, basically. Not many items for now, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be adding new recipes as we go. But guys, before we jump into actually making stuff out of clay, let's talk about clay itself, the essential resource for any pottery-related item you will be able to make. There are 3 ways you can find clay in game, one of them being foraging, and while we are at it, I definitely recommend you check out my foraging tutorial, which the link should be somewhere on the screen. You can search for clay in all kinds of warehouses where you would normally look for all kinds of different building materials. And finally, probably the most efficient way to source clay is simply heading to your nearest river or lake and looking for clay deposits on the banks of those rivers and lakes. In order to collect clay from these deposits, you will need to have 2 things with you, a shovel and an empty sack. Every single clay deposit will give you a full sack of clay, and a full sack of clay gives 8 units of clay. So now that we've got clay supplies covered, we can finally start crafting items using our pottery skill. And as I mentioned before, it's a 2-step process where you start by making the raw item. Here I'm making a clay pot. Apart from clay itself, you also need water. And once the raw item is crafted, then you put it in a kiln to burn it, harden it, and make the final product. And the contextual menu in the kiln itself will tell me what I can and I cannot make. Here you can see I can fire a clay pot, and in order to do that I need a clay pot which is unfired, exactly what I've prepared in my pottery wheel. And lastly, one thing to remember is that in order to make any clay item out of the kiln, you need a source of fire. And I think actually securing source of fire is going to be the biggest issue, because you use up a whole log to craft one item, so it uses quite a lot of fuel. Logs are not the only source of fire you can use. You can use charcoal, which is much more efficient, but we're gonna cover that in the later stages of the masterclass. Some clay items will also require sand, so essentially apart from clay, water, sand is also one thing which you will frequently use. So if you're planning on expanding into pottery or later on going into masonry, make sure to either have a constant supply of these or enough sacks so you can, kind of harvest all of these essential raw materials. And that's the whole process. It works exactly the same if you want to make bricks or clay tiles for flooring. It's pretty much all the same. And just to round things up on pottery, 2 more things I wanted to mention. First, what is the hand-operated press and why is it useful? Well, the only thing which I find useful for now is actually being able to make oil out of seeds. So it's not pottery related, it's actually more farming related. And finally, the building menu under pottery category does have some extra structures you can build, like this amphora that I am building, which is a large water container, I believe 300 liters. I can imagine that sometime down the road there will be more pottery type builds that you can build. So yeah, we will see how this particular skill is being developed by the devs. So to recap, pottery is definitely a skill that is worth investing your time and effort in, especially if you're planning on playing the long game. Even simple things like crafting bricks will require you to, upskill pottery first. And to be very honest, clay was one of the first raw materials that humanity used for their basic needs, so I am seeing lots and lots of growth potential for both the devs and the modding community. So yeah, pottery is cool. As always, thank you for staying till the end of the video, I really appreciate you. If you like the masterclass and you like what I'm doing, please drop a comment and leave me a like. It will make it much easier for this content to reach more Project Zomboid players. Now in the next episode, we will be talking about masonry, so make sure to check that out. I'm Gertrix. Cheers, guys.